was at the birth of disco, when club DJs first started mixing records, and it was almost a decade before the popularity of house music, when the Endup first opened its doors to San Francisco.
My name is Alison Page, and I don't really have an official title, but I consider myself the Minister of Propaganda for the Endup. In 1973, when the Endup opened, the kind of music that they played was rock music. During the late 80s, when I first started coming here, where there would be like heavy industrial electronica mixed with like Debbie Gibson type, but it's very much house, deep house, tribal house.
In its beginnings, the Endup catered primarily to the gay community of San Francisco.
The Endup, sprung out of this whole burgeoning of leather scene south of Market in rebellion to the Castro clone type of scene in the Castro. It basically was a family business for most of its life thus far. Al Hankin opened it in 1973 and ran it as a gay bar until his death in the late 80s. His brother Helmut took it over from there and died not long after that in a strange accident. And then the third brother, Carl, who really wanted nothing to do with the place, decided to keep it going as a tribute to his brothers.
As the Endup was becoming more established and well-known, it became host to a multitude of events.
When I first started coming here, the signature event was the Jockstrap Contest, right? Which they would have every Wednesday and ultimately make a calendar from the winners, right?
Several times throughout the late 80s and early 90s, due to AIDS, drugs, and bankruptcy, the Endup was in danger of closing its doors forever. It was during these times that the sense of community became strengthened, and it was through the patrons' unconditional dedication to the Endup that it has been able to survive even through hard times.
Shortly after I started coming here in 1986, the AIDS epidemic reared its ugly head. Well, I mean, people stopped going out, basically. They were afraid. People either were sick and not going out, or they were scared and not going out because, it became increasingly clear that the lifestyle, the sexual freedom and drugs and things that was what was contributing to, people getting sick. But they kept coming here because they found a sense of, it was somewhere where you could come and like express your grief.
I remember this friend that I have, Reggie, and he literally, he went to the Endup until the day he died. And that was very sad because he was so sick, but why not? I mean, he wanted to have fun, and that he did.
The fear of AIDS in the gay community had a harsh effect on the Endup. Business started to decline, and something had to be done to get more people into the club.
There was an event called Housing Project, which started in the early 90s. It's the first time that there was an influx of non-gay patrons into the club. When the straight crowd began to come to the club, it was straight out of like West Side Story. Okay, you had the Jets and the Sharks kind of, right? The gays on one side, the straights on the other, sort of looking at each other suspiciously. And then the music started, and it, forget it. It was like, everybody, that spoke to everybody. There was no longer, us versus them. It was like us.
Still, in 1994, due to bankruptcy and unpaid taxes, the future of the Endup seemed doomed.
We had this amazing, the Endup's last day. We had 24 DJs in 24 hours. I've never seen so many people out. That day helped to save it ultimately because bankruptcy court got a payment and people became recommitted to, keeping this place alive.
The Endup owes its life to its patrons and takes pride in their diversity and dedication to the club. Veterans and newcomers alike are always greeted with a smile, and everybody seems to have nothing but good things to say.
I only actually found the Endup a couple years ago, but it has quickly become my most favorite place on earth.
When people come to the door and say, like, is this gay night or is this a gay bar? It's like, This is a San Francisco club, it's everybody's welcome, as long as you behave yourself, relatively speaking. Okay, case in point. Dawn could very well be a poster child.
Through all my experiences here over the last 10 years, both as a club goer and a DJ, the Endup has a vibe that is undescribable. At least here in San Francisco, it's the most eclectic cultural mesh pot. You'll get every walk of life here, and it seems to all come together for the harmony of dance.
It became what San Francisco is, a place where you don't have to stay in a certain neighborhood because of what your skin color is or your sexual orientation or whatever.